CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
A Victoria family is homeless tonight after their home was gutted by fire earlier today. The flames broke out in a corner unit at the Blanchard Court townhouses at Bay Street and Dowler Place this afternoon just before 1 o'clock. 3 fire halls responded to the call with reports of a man trapped inside the burning unit. Firefighters say the flames ignited on a patio.
Word is we had one gentleman up in a bathtub. He heard cracking, popping, and then smelled smoke and waved out of one of the top windows, front or back. We're not quite sure at this point, but he obviously let people know outside that he was in there and then decided to take it upon himself to get out. So he ran down the stairs, possibly took some smoke. We had a BC ambulance check him out.
He's okay. No other serious injuries reported. The flames scorched the exterior of the building and there is extensive damage inside the home. No dollar figure on the damage yet. The investigation of the fire continues tonight. And fire crews from Otter Point and the Souk fire departments were called to a home fire early this morning. When crews arrived, the entire upper story of the house was fully engulfed, but there was no one home at the time.
We knocked it down from the outside and we took our time. We also had a bit of a challenge with water supply, being there's no hydrants in this area, so Souk assisted us with water supply, bringing a water tender, and also with providing us a RIT team for our crews when we did eventually go into the building.
Firefighters say the home is a total loss. People living in the area say they have suspected it may have been used as a grow-op, but there is no proof of those allegations. The cause of the fire remains under investigation tonight. It's expected to be a sea of pink across British Columbia tomorrow, and it was at the legislature today as an anti-bullying flash mob took over. They came from all over, more than 600 students, all dressed in pink, forming an anti-bullying flash mob outside the legislature steps. Premier Christy Clark and a number of MLAs joined the students, dancing to Lady Gaga's Born This Way, sending a message against bullying. Organizers say it's important for kids to understand that it's okay to take a stand.
Kids really want to hear from other kids about how to support each other, how to stand up in case they're alone, how to stand up to bullies, and also how they can come together to make sure they're not isolated and alone, and that there is a huge movement out there amongst peers that they want to be in schools that are safe, they want to enjoy their educational experience, and they want to really be there to support one another.
It's difficult to navigate bullying and how to figure out to involve adults into the situation, because often that just aggravates it and makes it worse. And so I think that they try to bottle it in a lot, teens do, that is, and it ends up ending badly sometimes, and it can stay with you for a lot longer than I think a lot of people realize.
Tomorrow is Pink Shirt Day. The Premier championed that cause when she was on the radio. It started in Atlanta, Canada, where students wore pink to support a student who was bullied for wearing that color. Organizers say if you want to take a stand against bullying, you should wear pink tomorrow. Proof tonight of how windy it was today on the South Island. A massive tree blew down in Oak Bay and took out the side of a house when it did it. It happened at the corner of Midland Road and Lansdowne just after 4 this afternoon. The homeowner and her daughter were both home at the time. The mother had just sent her daughter to go upstairs when the tree came crashing down, tearing a corner of the roof away.
Well, I was sitting there talking to a friend on the phone, and I had just sent my daughter upstairs to go clean her room, and I had heard this crash, and I saw the trees all coming down, and I started screaming, and my daughter started screaming, and when I looked outside, there was a hole in the roof, and that's just what happened.
Nobody was hurt. The homeowner says an insurance adjuster will look at the house later in the week. In the meantime, they'll have to cover up the roof with tarps and finish cleaning up that bedroom. Well, if you are among those who are waiting until the last minute to contribute to your RRSP before the deadline, your time is just about up. Tomorrow, February 29th, Leap Day, is the last day this year. You can add to your RRSPs and get the write-off in your income taxes. But in these tough economic times, socking away the extra cash may be easier said than done. With growing consumer debt, paying off bills usually comes before topping up retirement savings. But if you are able to manage a little extra, financial planners say RRSPs may not even be for you. There are other ways to get more bang for your buck.
Well, it all comes down to what your marginal tax rate is. And here in BC, we have, as throughout Canada, we have different rates for different provinces. But for the lowest tax breaks are in the anything under 42.7% marginal tax bracket. And for people like that, they're probably further ahead in the long term using the tax-free savings account that was introduced in 2009.
To make the most of your money, the planners say start early, put away small monthly deposits, and another tip, when you get your refund back, roll that straight into another RRSP. Well, he is known as man's best friend, and tonight a Vancouver Island dog is giving the gift of sight. This is Purdy, a pure chocolate lab who has recently graduated from Guide the Blind training. This afternoon, the pup was showing off his new skills by guiding his blindfolded trainer. The 2-year-old pooch has been living with the trainee family, but now he is ready to move on, and they must say goodbye.
It's hard to say goodbye, for sure. I think none of us would say it was easy because you become attached to them so quickly. But if you really focus on the program and understand what it's all about and think of the change that you're going to make in somebody's life that's either blind or, in some cases, an autistic child, makes a huge difference to the families. And so it is hard to say goodbye, but then you get another puppy and you start all over again.
Purdy's been in training for a year now and is ready to help a person in need. BC Guide Dog Service says there's a shortage of guide dogs right now, with an increasing number of people who need assistance.
There is a great need for guide dogs. We're a small school, so we are always struggling to put out as many dogs as needed. There is a waiting list that's 2 to 3 years long, which is really difficult. He is actually he's staying within BC. He's going to the Fraser Valley area.
On average, it costs $37,000 to raise and to train a guide dog. If you'd like to help raise a guide dog or make a donation, bcguidedog.com is the place to get more information.
CTV News, Vancouver Island Report.
Mid-Island reaction to the developments in the teachers' dispute today. The Labour Relations Board ruled that teachers in BC do have the right to strike. The board says teachers may initiate job action for 3 days next week and 1 day per week after that, but 2 days' notice must be given first. But within hours of the board's decision, the government tabled legislation to suspend all job action. The bill also would impose millions of dollars in fines if the strike carries on.
The quantum will be substantial with respect to those penalties. I do not take lightly, nor should any partner in the education system take lightly what will occur in the event of a walkout in terms of the cost to over 1 million parents of those 520,000 public school students in British Columbia. When we have walkouts, it has a big impact.
The legislation includes the appointment of a mediator and implements a new $165 million Learning Improvement Fund. The Nanaimo District Teachers Association says the bill shows that the government is not interested in negotiating and worries that the imposed contract could roll back their rights.
What we've seen in our district is there's never been a net zero proposal. It's been a sub-zero proposal of a substantial loss of our collective rights. We have to see what the legislation looks like. If the legislation is looking at removing some of our hard bargain rights, we're going to respond strongly. Regardless of what the legislation looks like, I will be going back to my teachers or our members and getting feedback on where we go to from there.
The province says the legislation does not impose a new contract. It simply extends the previous collective agreement to allow the mediation period to continue. And the goal is to reach a negotiated settlement by the beginning of summer. If there isn't one, though, the mediator will issue a report by June 30th with non-binding recommendations. Well, it may be the way of the future, and the city of Nanaimo has now plugged in its first public electric vehicle charging station. They're charged up and ready to go at Bevan Park. An empty vehicle battery can be re-energized in about 4 hours, or you can top up your batteries when you stop by for a visit at the park. Similar stations will soon be installed at the Vancouver Island Conference Centre and at the Port Parkade.
We're going to provide this as a free service to the citizens of Nanaimo, anyone who has an electric car. One of the challenges to date has been where to get it recharged. And we're going to provide this opportunity for people, and I encourage everyone to get out, try out driving one of the new electric cars and see what you think. I've driven one and I'm impressed.
The charging stations are part of the city of Nanaimo's commitment to becoming more sustainable. Nanaimo was one of the first cities in the province to add fully electric vehicles to its municipal fleet.